Good morning. Today we are doing subtracting integers, very similar to our Row, Row Your Boat song for adding integers, but today there are a couple things that look a little different. For example, looking in this box right here, I have a couple eyes here. Look at this problem and this problem. In this box here, these have a couple things that are the same and a couple that are different. So a couple things that are the same, they both have a negative 14, and they both have a negative 5. Negative 5 and negative 5. However, this one has a plus sign and this one doesn't. This one's missing a plus sign, and this one also has parentheses. If you look there, there are no parentheses in the second one. So one thing that we can notice about these two is that they are really the same problem. This is a negative 14. The plus just means combined with another negative 5. So this one's same sign, add and keep. 14 plus 5 should give us 19. And they're all negatives, keep the negative sign. This one is negative 14, just like we had over here. There's no plus, it's still combined with, it's just next to a negative 5. And some of you might say, well, wasn't that minus 5? A minus, a negative, subtract, take away, they all mean the same thing. They're just next to each other. We don't really need to say, hey, we're combining these together. Look, there's a plus sign. They're just next to each other. So this is the same thing, same sign, add and keep. In the middle here, we have a 3 combined with a negative 7. They're just next to each other. Different signs. This is really a positive and a negative. We're going to subtract. 7 minus 3 is 4, and there are more negatives. Again, if you wanted to use your number line for this, looking at your number line, if this was 0, we'd go to a positive 1, 2, 3. Positive 3, we'd go negative 7, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which would get us to negative 4. This next one is where we have something different. Here's a 2, just a positive 2. This is telling us now we have the opposite of negative 6. Well, the opposite of negative 6, or subtracting a negative, is going to make a positive. The opposite of a negative is a positive. So now we have a positive 6 and a positive 2. Well, 6 plus 2 is just 8. Same thing down here. This is just a negative 5. We have the opposite of a negative becomes a positive. So now we have a positive 4 and a negative 5. Different signs, subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1, and there are more negatives. Last one, 14. The opposite of a negative is a positive. 2 negatives make a positive there. So we have 14 plus 1 is just 15. So what happens when you take the negatives away? The opposite of that negative is really just becoming a positive number. Alright, so here's a real world example about football. In 4 plays a football team gains 3 yards. If you're gaining yards or gaining weight or gaining advice or whatever, that's a positive. It's things that you're gaining. It's a positive number. So first we gain 3 yards, positive 3. Then we're going to lose 7 yards. Losing something, losing money, we think of that as negative. So we're going to subtract 7, minus 7. We lose another 2 yards, so subtract 2. And then we gain or add another 15. How many yards did the team gain after 4 plays? So again, if we have more than one adding and subtracting, we go from left to right. So we have positive, negative, different signs, subtract. So 7 minus 3 is 4, and there's more negatives. Then write the rest of the problem, minus 2 plus 15. Moving from left to right again, negative, negative, same sign, add and keep. 4 plus 2 is 6. Keep the negatives. And then bring down that plus 15 one more time. So we have negative, positive, different sign, subtract. 15 minus 6. Can't really subtract 5 minus 6, so it's just Counting up, we get 9, and there are more positives. We are talking about yards. So after 4 plays, they got 9 yards. Moving down below, here are a couple more that just have an equal sign. There's nothing different. You're evaluating or solving the expression. So here's a -7 combined with -9 or -9. Same sign, add and keep. So 7 plus 9 is going to give us 16. And they're all negatives. Last here we have 12. And the opposite of a negative, remember, 2 negatives are going to make a positive. So 12 plus 5 now, because this is a positive, gives us 17. They're all positive, so it stays positive. Flip over to the back side. Here again we have 3 terms like we did the other day, so we're only going to look at 2 at a time. We have a -5, and then the opposite of a negative is going to make a positive, so I'm going to make that a plus. So you have -5 and a positive 15, different signs, subtract. 15 minus 5 is 10, and there are more positives. Then minus a -8. Again, 2 negatives here are going to make a positive, so 10 plus 8 is now just 18. Here again, the opposite of a negative. We should be getting good at this. 2 negatives there next to each other are going to make a positive. So 10 plus 4 is 14. And then 14, we just have -6. If you want to circle them again, you can. 14 and a -6. Different signs, subtract. We should be left with 8. They're more positive, so it's positive. Here's another one. Just looking at the first 2, we have -7. The opposite of a negative, again, is going to give us a positive. So negative, positive, different signs, subtract. 20 minus 7 should give us 13. There's more positives. And then 13 minus 5, positive, negative, or just count down from 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. There's more positives, so it's a positive 8. Here we go again. I'm getting ahead of myself. The opposite of a negative is going to give us a positive. So we have 13 plus 12. Well, they're all positives. So if you need to add them up this way, you should get 25. And they're all positive, so it stays positive. And then just minus 5, and 25 take away 5 is just 20. If you need to use a number line, make sure you always start at 0. And if it's positive, move to the right. If you have a negative number, move to the left. Last ones here. And I don't like these ones typically because they have letters, so let's just get rid of those letters. It says evaluate. Another word for evaluate is solve. Solve the expression when A is -9, B is 18, and C is -4. So let's plug those numbers in. First it just says 15, so I'm going to write 15. Then there's a minus sign. But this is where you need to be careful. A also has a minus or a negative. So there's another negative coming from A. Then there's another minus from the equation, a negative. And then B. And B is 18. So we know 2 negatives are going to make a positive, and they're next to each other right there. The opposite of a negative makes a positive. So 15 plus 9. If you're having trouble with 15 plus 9, either write it out, or, well, 15 plus 10 is 25, but 9 is 1 less. Instead of 25, it will be 24. Same here. 9 plus 5 is 14, and there's 24. And then we have minus 18. We have a positive and a negative. Different signs, subtract. So if I do 24 minus 18, well, I can't do that, so I'm going to borrow. 14 minus 8 should give me 6. There's more positives, so my answer is positive. Let's try this next one, same thing. A, plug it in, it's -9. Then there's a minus from the equation. Then b is really 18. Another minus from the equation. And c. This is where you got to be careful. C is also a negative. So we know two negatives here are going to make a positive. So starting on the left, just looking at the first two, negative 9 combined with negative 18. Same sign, add and keep. 18 plus 9 gives 17, and then 2, so 27. They're all negative, so keep the negative. Plus 4. And then here, negative, positive, different sign, subtract. 27 minus 4 should give us 23. And there's more negative, so negative 23. Alright, last two. I would suggest you try these on your own and then go ahead and solve them with me. I'm just going to circle x and y here. So first it says y right here, and y is 2. Then it says minus x, and x is a negative 5, minus 14, and that's just 14. So here again, two negatives make a positive. 2 plus 5 is 7, and 7 minus 14, different signs, positive, negative, subtract. 14 minus 7 should give you 7, but there's more negatives, so it's a negative 7. Last one, x is negative 5 plus y, which is 2. Different signs, subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3, and there's more negatives. Please be extra careful when you're plugging these in. If there's a negative in the equation, include that. If x is also negative, those two negatives are going to make a positive. Alright, good luck.